Hi all, today we discuss theorem 6.6. This is a necessary and sufficient condition for Riemann-Stieltjes integrability. If this f is a Riemann-Stieltjes integral on AB, then if and only if we can get this condition for every epsilon greater than 0, there is a partition such that UPF alpha minus LPF alpha is less than epsilon. Okay, so first we will assume there is a partition P with this property. Then we'll prove that this f belongs to R of alpha. That is, f is Riemann-Stieltjes integral. In order to prove this f is an element of R of alpha, I will prove that its lower and upper Riemann-Stieltjes integrals are the same. So our assumption is there is a partition with this property. Okay, to prove lower integral f d alpha is equal to upper integral f d alpha, we assume there is a partition, there is P such that UPF alpha minus LPF alpha less than epsilon for all epsilon greater than 0. Okay, so to prove this, we start with our LPF alpha. We know that LPF alpha for this partition P, LPF alpha is always less than or equal to lower integral a to b f d alpha. So we are not writing a to b here. So this is understood that this is the only interval in this discussion. So you need not worry about the limits of this integral. So this is it is understood that this is lower integral a to b. Okay, so in lower integral is defined to be the supremum of all the lower sums. So if you choose any particular lower sum, then that is always less than or equal to the corresponding supremum, which is defined as lower integral. Okay, but we know that this lower integral is always less than or equal to upper integral that we have discussed in the last class. So this is alwaess f d alpha, because in order to define this we use the supremum, and that means upper sums, and for this we use lower sums. Okay, so in the previous theorem we have shown that this inequality holds. Okay, lower integral is always less than or equal to upper integral. Now upper integral is also always less than or equal to the corresponding upper sum, or this upper sum corresponding to this P, because upper integral is defined to be the infimum for upper sum. So if you choose one typical upper sum, then upper integral is always less than or equal to this. Okay, so so this is like for real numbers. So this is LPF, and this is lower integral, and this is upper integral, and this is UPF. This is the positions of these real numbers in the real line. So we know that the distance between these two real numbers is always less than or equal to distance between these two real numbers. So from this you can get upper integral f d alpha is minus lower integral f d alpha is less than or equal. Okay, distance between these two numbers is less than or equal to UPF alpha minus LPF alpha, okay, which is less than epsilon. Okay, that, with our assumption we can write this is less than epsilon for every positive number. So if you choose any positive number, we have this difference is always less than epsilon, and of course this is always less than 0 is less than or equal to this. Okay, so from this you can write upper integral f d alpha is same as lower integral f d alpha, implies f belongs to R alpha. Okay, on AB. So this is the first part, or this is the sufficient part. Okay, sufficient condition implies the integrability. Okay, now we will prove the other part. Conversely, suppose that f belongs to R alpha. Okay, R alpha. Now for epsilon greater than 0, for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a partition. There exist partitions P1 and P2 such that U P2 f alpha is less than integral f d alpha, integral f d alpha, integral f d alpha plus epsilon by 2. Okay, so this is because this integral since this f is f belongs to R alpha, we know we can assume by this assumption integral f d alpha is same as upper integral f d alpha is same as lower integral f d alpha. All the integrals are the same. So if you consider integral f d alpha is same as upper integral f d alpha, and upper integral is defined as the infimum of, okay, infimum of upper sums, okay, UPF alpha. So infimum means the greatest lower bound. Okay, so if you choose a positive number, then this number, okay, this number plus epsilon by 2. So this will not be an upper bound for upper sums. Okay, because this is the this will not be a lower bound for that. This is the greatest lower bound. This is greatest lower bound for all the upper sums. So a number which is greater than this will not be a lower bound for upper sums. Okay, so if you add epsilon by 2 to this upper integral, or in fact to this one, that will not be a lower bound for this upper sums, because this integral is the greatest lower bound. So this will not be a lower bound. Then we can find an element up to f alpha, or there is a partition such that up to f alpha is less than this number. Okay, similarly you can find partition p1 such that integral f d alpha minus epsilon by 2 less than LP1 f alpha. Okay, this is because if you connect this integral f to this lower integral is the least upper bound for lower sums. So if you subtract a positive quantity from this, that will not be a upper bound. Okay, so we can find a lower sum which is strictly greater than this number. Okay, so we have p1 and p2 such that this holds. Okay, now we have if you take the partition P, which is the union of P1 and P2, we'll get the common this will be the common refinement. Okay, refinement of P1 and P2. Now we have UP f alpha, which is less than or equal to P2 f alpha, because if you take the refinement, then lower upper sums decreases. So if compared to this P and P2, P is the refinement, so upper sum is less than or equal to this. Okay, and which is less than integral, we have written here integral f d alpha plus epsilon by 2. Okay, and which is less than integral f d alpha minus epsilon by 2 can be made less than LP1 f alpha. So if you substitute for this quantity in this expression, we can get this is LP1 f alpha plus epsilon by 2 plus epsilon by 2. So we replace this quantity from this inequality, so which is equal to this LP1 f alpha plus epsilon. Okay, but we know that P is the refinement of P1 as well, so lower sum increases, so this is less than or equal to LPF alpha plus epsilon. Okay, now you have this UPF alpha is less than LPF alpha plus epsilon, so this implies UPF alpha minus LPF alpha is less than epsilon. Since this upper sum is greater than or equal to lower sum, you can use modulus. If you really want modulus, you can take you can put modulus here. So otherwise this will be okay. So this is true for every epsilon greater than 0. So for every epsilon greater than 0, there exists a partition P such that UPF alpha minus LPF alpha is less than epsilon. So this is the necessary condition. So we have proved both the necessary and sufficient conditions. So this can be treated as the characterization of Riemann still just integrability. So we will use this theorem. So that is why this theorem is very important. We use this theorem in the following theorems to prove this integrability, Riemann-Stieltjes integrability of f. Now theorem 6.7. So this is mere consequences of the theorem 6.6. So in theorem 6.6 we have proved this is the UPF alpha minus LPF alpha less than epsilon for every positive epsilon is the necessary and sufficient condition for integrability. So if this inequality holds for some partition P and some epsilon, then the same inequality holds for every refinement of P. So this is the first case. So we prove first one. So if we start with a partition P star is a if P star is a refinement of this P, refinement of P, then we know that UP star F alpha is less than or equal to L UPF alpha. Okay, similarly LPF alpha is less than or equal to LP star F alpha. Okay, so when we take the the upper sums corresponding to the refinement, the upper sum is decreased and lower sum is increased. Okay, so this is F alpha. Okay, so this is these are the two conditions if we start with a refinement. Okay, now we connect these things. Okay, LP F alpha less than or equal to LP star F alpha. But we know that lower sum is always less than or equal to upper sum corresponding to the same partition. So if we fix a partition P star, LP star F alpha is less than or equal to UP star F alpha, which is less than or equal to UP F alpha. Now we use the previous argument. The distance between these two numbers is always less than or equal to this UP star F alpha minus LP star F alpha is less than or equal to UP F alpha minus LP F alpha. So this is the consequence of the refinement. So if we assume 13 holds, that is UP F alpha minus LP F alpha is less than epsilon. So this is less than epsilon. That means the same result holds for every refinement of P. So this proves part A. Now we will prove part B. For part B, we consider a function, the domain AB, and if you consider any subinterval of this AB due to the partition, say xi minus 1 xi. Okay, so we in B, in the hypothesis of B, we choose two elements Si and Ti. Okay, so for the partition P, choose Si Ti from any arbitrary points in the subinterval xi minus 1 xi. Then what happens here is if we choose here we have Si and this is our Ti. Okay, so here we have the function f. We'll consider the function here. This is our function here in this domain. So if we consider function, or if we study the function here, we know that this if we take small mi and capital Mi. Okay, capital Mi is the supremum of all f of x, where x belongs to xi minus 1 xi. Similarly, this is the infimum of f of x for every x belongs to xi minus 1 xi. But we know that this Si and Ti are arbitrary points of this interval. So if we choose any f of Si and f of Ti from this, both these number f of Si and f of Ti lies in between the maximum and minimum value. Clear? So if we choose the distance between these two numbers, both the numbers lie in between this small mi and capital Mi. So this would imply that the distance between f of Si minus f of Ti, okay, this distance is always less than or equal to our capital Mi and small mi. Okay, capital Mi minus small mi. So this is the argument. So modulus of this is always less than or equal to capital Mi minus small mi. Now we need to prove that this result. Okay, our assumption is 13 holds. UPF alpha minus LPF alpha is less than epsilon. Okay, now you write this distance. We know that summation, we consider that sum I equal to 1 to n modulus of f of Si minus f of Ti times delta alpha. We need to prove that this is less than epsilon. So first of all, you write this which is less than or equal to, we know that this is less than or equal to capital Mi minus small mi. So this is less than or equal to summation I equal to 1 to n capital Mi minus small mi into delta alpha I. When you split the sum, you will get sigma equal to 1 to n capital Mi delta alpha I minus summation I equal to 1 to n small mi delta alpha. Okay, but we know that this is upper sum. This is the upper sum UPF alpha minus LPF alpha. So which is equal to UPF alpha minus LPF alpha. But we know that if by our assumption 13 holds, so this is always less than epsilon. Then we have this sum, summation I equal to 1 to n mod f of Si minus f of Ti into delta Fi is less than epsilon for every epsilon greater than 0. Okay, and any choice of this Si and Ti from the Xi minus 1 Xi. Okay, this proves B. Okay, this proves B part. Now we will prove C part. C part says that if f belongs to R alpha and hypothesis of B holds. Hypothesis of B means 13 holds, and that is obvious from this result. And we choose Si, we can choose SITI from the partition and subinterval of the partition P. Then we will show that modulus of this sum minus integral A to B is always less than epsilon. Okay, that means if you choose partitions and make its refinements, then that sum is very close to this integral. Okay, or the other way we can interpret this as integral A to B f d alpha can be approximated through this finite sums. Okay, this is finite sum and this is our continuous sum. That is what we call integral. So this can be in this integral can be approximated through this, or if you take any epsilon neighborhood of this integral A to B f d alpha, the real number integral A to B f d alpha, you can find at least one upper sum inside that for any choice of Ti. So this is the meaning of C part. So we prove C part. To prove C part, we start with our LP F alpha, which is less than or equal to summation F of Ti delta alpha I from 1 to n obviously, and which is less than or equal to UP F alpha. So this is because of F of Ti is always less than or equal to capital Mi, and which is always greater than or equal to small mi. Then you multiply this inequality with delta alpha I and add. Okay, so that will be Mi times delta alpha I less than or equal to F of Ti times delta alpha I less than or equal to capital Mi times delta alpha. Okay, and add from I equal to 1 to n. Then this will be the lower sum, and this will be the that will lead to the upper sum, and the middle term will be summation I equal to 1 to n F of Ti delta alpha. Okay. Similarly, we know that LPF alpha is always less than or equal to this integral. First we write this is always less than or equal to lower integral f d alpha, because this LPF, this lower integral defined as the supremum of lower sums. supremum is always greater than or equal to any lower sum. So this is the inequality here. And similarly, if you consider upper integral of d alpha, which is always less than or equal to UPF alpha. Okay, because upper integral is infimum of all upper sums. Okay, so this is the inequality. But our assumption is in C, our assumption is f is integrable. F is integrable means both this upper integral and lower integral are the same, and that is equal to integral a to b f d alpha. So this is the condition for integrability. So we have this integral a to b f d alpha is lying in between LPF and UPF. Now you compare these two inequalities, 1 and 2. We know that these two quantities, this quantity and this integral, lie in between these two real numbers. Okay, so here we have LPF alpha and here we have UPF alpha. Then these two numbers, sum and integral, lie in between these two numbers. So distance between summation f of ti for any choice of ti, that is the idea here, any choice of ti from xi minus 1 xi delta this sum minus integral a to b f d alpha, the modulus is always less than or equal to distance between UPF alpha and LPF alpha. Okay, so this is less than epsilon because our assumption is assumption of hypothesis of b holds, that means 13 holds. So this is less than epsilon. Okay, this shows that this finite sums, this from I equal to 1 to n converges to this integral a to b f d alpha. Okay, so this proof theorem 6.7 and that is those are the consequence of theorem 6.6. Okay, the next class we will discuss the continuity and integrability, the relation between continuity and integrability of a function. Okay, thank you.